Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, welcome back, Films and Stuff. My favorite 60 minutes of the week.
Here we go.
Are you ready? Are you ready? This is it. We've got the double review, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power. Couple barn burners this week, yeah?
Yeah, in one case, quite literally, right?
Yeah. Where do you want to begin?
Let's start with House of Dragon. I think there's, in my opinion, a little bit more to say about House of Dragon than there is about Rings of Power.
So the gloves are off on House of the Dragon, right?
The gloves are off, the knives are out, quite literally, and the lines are not just drawn in the sand. You now have two sides in the room, and they had a beautiful visual where you saw both sides right there on screen. I thought it was a very
first time we've had the whole cast in one room, right?
The whole Targaryen family in one room.
Yeah. So we start off with I guess it's a funeral or some type of wake for Laena.
That's right.
Daemon is typical, little bit moody, broody. Doesn't seem to be taking care of his kids at all. Just seems to be kind of like standing by his side. See a bunch of dragons and the rest of the family's there. And we start to see how the kids are going to be getting along, right?
Or not getting along, as the case may be.
Or not getting along, yeah.
What I've been saying for the last couple weeks has been that at the moment, there's nobody on the show that you're really rooting for one way or another. Or in the sense that every week, there's kind of like a shifting allegiance to every character. Some weeks I'm for Daemon, some weeks I'm for Rhaenyra, some weeks I'm for Alicent. There's in no weeks am I for Viserys. You know what I mean? In that regard, I think the showrunners have kind of made that a deliberate choice, or maybe not. Who knows? Because there are some things that I really, discredit the showrunners for. But I have a sneaking suspicion that this was the week where you were supposed to side with Rhaenyra's kids over all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that this is where Rhaenyra's kids are supposed to be a little bit more sympathetic figures than Alicent's kids, right?
Yeah. And when I say Rhaenyra's kids, by the way, that automatically now includes Daemon's kids because of the quote-unquote twist, which obviously wasn't a twist at the end of this episode.
Too fast. I think it was too fast to combine. Essentially, if you're looking at this episode, there are three main plots that came out. The first was kind of the funeral for Laena, and then Aemon taking the dragon.
Yep.
And then you had, the big civil war.
Yeah.
And I thought that was enough to kind of make it through a full episode. And then they just kind of like very quickly had the shotgun wedding where Rhaenyra, Daemon somehow took care of Laenor, although I guess we see how. And then those two tie the knot. I thought that to me, it seemed like 5 minutes, but it was probably more than that. I thought that was entitled to its own episode, really. It was so seismic.
Yeah, or at least, if not its own episode, at least if they shoved it off to the next episode in terms of pacing. Only in terms of pacing. They spent probably, I would say, 60% of the episode, or let's say 50 to 60% of the episode on the wake, maybe 30 to 35% of the episode on the stealing of the dragon and the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
And then 5 to 10% of the episode on what is probably the most crucial part of this episode was of the marriage of Rhaenyra and Daemon.
And I agree. I mean, the one lasting outcome of that, which we really didn't spend any time on, is how Corlys and his wife are going to deal with that, because they've got a lot of mixed baggage. I mean, they've got their two granddaughters. They don't like Daemon at all. Laenor's now out of the picture, who they kind of suspect some.
They think he's dead, right?
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's break down each act as we've discussed, right? So
All
let's
right, so
talk
let's
about
start
the
at
wake
the funeral.
first. Yeah.
I mean, I think the few things I got from the wake were that Aegon was not presented, I think, in a favorable light. He was presented as a guy who was drinking a lot of wine.
Super drunk.
Yeah.
And not a shock, but like what a gloss over of the fact that he's already been pledged to get married to his youngest sister.
Yeah.
It's not that we didn't see that coming, but it was so quickly glossed over in such a throwaway manner that he's now going to be marrying his sister.
It's weird, right?
Weird, but at the same time, maybe not. I've become so desensitized to this idea now with the Targaryens specifically that it's just like, okay, politically it probably makes sense to shore up the king's side of the family currently.
But wasn't there an offer in the prior episode by Rhaenyra for Jacaerys to marry Helena?
Exactly.
So Alicent turned that down and said, hey, I'm just going to have my first two get married to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I mean, it seems it would be better to get
Helena over. I would have said that's a good way to hedge your bets.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe where this comes into play in the future. Maybe it's not. This could also just be saying, look, I'm going all in on my family. If we're talking about poker parlance, I would have said, look, the strategically sound thing to do, right? And we've learned this all in our classes at school. We have to diversify your portfolio. And the idea
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And so the idea is that, hey, if Aegon wins this Game of Thrones, he becomes king. And if Aegon loses, Rhaenyra's son becomes king, which means that my daughter becomes queen anyway. So one way or another, I've kind of got that in the bag. That is no longer in the question. She's basically now put everything on Aegon winning.
Yeah, I mean, it would make a lot more sense to put Helena. I mean, we're talking about people like they're just chess pieces, but put Helena with Jacaerys, and then Aegon with Baela or Rhaena. You know, one of.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right, and then you've
covered all your bases,
solidified things with Velaryons, and you've. I don't quite get it, but I agree. It was something I didn't quite understand, but that's the only real implication is that Aegon's like, oh my God, like she's an idiot, you know, and I don't think she is. I think they're going to show that she's got like some special powers in the future. But I mean,
certainly, because she's already kind of dabbling in this quote unquote witchcraft style thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's certainly going to be a mystical element to her.
Yes.
Whether that means she can control dragons, whether that means she's fireproof, whatever it is, but there's certainly going to be something in her.
Yeah, I agree. So at the funeral, what did you think about Daemon's kids? I felt like those two daughters were not really. Usually, like when someone's mom dies, everyone goes up to the kids and kind of like supports them and gives them some stuff. And
but we see that with Jacaerys, right? He does that. She holds onto her hand, his hand.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice moment. I thought that was a good way for them to show that, you know, no matter what, we are cousins, maybe to be betrothed in the future, but we're together.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, you know, we haven't talked a lot about this because I think a lot of the weight was done by Game of Thrones. But in terms of world building and lore building, I thought this episode did a great job with like how they showed you the funeral rites for Valyrian in Driftmark.
That was cool.
How they put her in that casket that was sealed and then threw the casket into the ocean where you assume there's got to be all the other Velaryons in there.
Yes.
Right? I thought that was really... I mean, not nice in that sense, but nice in the sense that it really adds depth to the lore of
the legacy of Westeros, these families, you know?
Exactly. Something, and we'll touch upon this probably, something which Lord of the Rings hasn't done.
True.
I think that's what I like about this is to say, hey, look, one, I think, is interested in showing you the vastness of the world, and whereas I think House of the Dragons and Game of Thrones is also keen on showing you not just the vastness, but also the depth of all the different things you're seeing.
I mean, it's history, you know? I mean, I've never really been interested, or I've never been like someone who like devours history books, you know? But I have to say, like, even though this is a fictitious family in a fictitious place, it is really interesting to understand the history of everybody and how far back these families go and how they're intertwined. And, as you mentioned, the customs and the legacy. I think that's one of the real great things that the Game of Thrones, House of Dragons has created, is that people are actually interested in the past and how did we get to this point and what's the backstory and what's the history of these families. That's a super, super cool thing, I think, to create. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives it a feeling of reality or realness, which is, I think, lacking in Rings of Power at the moment. I don't want to say that for Lord of the Rings, but specifically for Rings of Power, I think it's a lot more surface level than this.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so I liked, or not liked, but it was a bit on brand for Daemon to start giggling at the funeral.
He's always got
super creepy.
I agree. Just when Daemon's that guy that just when you start to forgive him a little bit and feel like he's not so bad, he does something like just so bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean, I thought that was weird, but overall, I thought that first part of this episode was great because there wasn't really a lot of like bickering or fighting or action. It was just nice to kind of see everybody interact and see also the subtle political games, right? I mean, you talked about like Jacaerys going over to Baela or Rhaena, but it was really, Rhaenyra who said, hey, you better go over and like make nice with them,
They're
she was
cousins.
Always kind of casting an eye, Daemon across the room, like everyone's looking who's talking to who. Laenor is like all drunk by himself in the water. I mean, that poor guy is just an emotional mess, right?
No, Laenor I have no sympathies for, by the way. And
now,
we'll get to that.
Yes. Yeah.
But not even now. I think even in the past. Honestly, I have very, very little sympathy for Laenor now. It all culminated with me saying that, I'm kind of glad to see him off screen now.
I'm happy to see him off screen as well because that role was just too awkward and we knew it wasn't sustainable.
He was floundering. He wasn't going anywhere. He was neither here nor there. Look, ultimately, I'm the type of person, when you see a character on screen, you want to see them be strong one way or another. Either strong bad, strong good, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The weak floundering guy in the middle, automatically I don't like. And he was neither here nor there.
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of failing on all sides here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the funeral.
Yep, that's the wake.
And then we see basically King says, look, I'm going to bed early. Like, I've just had enough of this. He goes to bed early, and then he misses all the fun and games because apparently Rhaenyra and Daemon take a walk on the beach.
Of course. They air out their grievances.
And in a way, it's probably the first time either one of them has been honest with another person in their lives, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally. I think that's the one thing I like about their relationship is that they can both say what they really want to say to each other, right?
Yeah.
That's normally something you don't... I mean, you can tell even between Viserys and Alicent, that's no longer the case, right?
No.
Certainly after this episode, that will never be the case. But in general... that is no longer everyone's always afraid and they always hold their tongues. But I think the two of them are the one pair in this show where they can say anything they want about each other, to each other, about anyone else freely.
Do you think Rhaenyra legitimately loves Daemon?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he's been in the back of her mind since she was basically 10 years old or whatever it was.
Do you think Daemon legitimately loves Rhaenyra?
That's questionable.
Yeah.
That side is more questionable. I don't know, but I will say this. Whether it's true love or not on Daemon's side, I don't see him betraying her like he has everybody else.
I mean, he didn't really betray Laena. From what we saw, he was moody, but he seemed to be kind of decent otherwise, right?
Okay, maybe not betray, but I don't think he would go to bat for Laena. right? I mean, he was even at that pregnancy scene, he was wishy-washy about the whole situation,
Yeah.
right? It was a bit Viserys like that.
Yeah.
But I think he would be a little bit more husbandly, or a little bit more loving for Rhaenyra than he would with anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, do you think if we play this out, Rhaenyra's queen, he's the
general, he's the Iron Fist now. I think he's going to be the one that's going to be like, all right, Viserys is dead. You are the nominated heir. And I will now go to battle for you to make sure that you maintain your position. And ultimately, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be an issue where Daemon is going to have to go against either Aegon or now, actually, maybe not even Aegon. I think it's going to be the younger one, Aemon. Aemon, yeah.
I mean, do you also see like potentially a scenario play out where, Daemon's not really good at being the second fiddle, that Rhaenyra becomes queen, and I agree, if she's hated, Daemon's probably going to be a pretty strong advocate boosting her up. If she becomes beloved or popular, Daemon's also the kind of guy who may start to resent that and like try to undermine her, right?
Maybe, but I think more than anything, I think she would enable him. And I think he would be happy with that. I think she would let him do the kind of things that her brother wouldn't. Or her dad wouldn't.
Yeah. He wants to crack some heads. Right?
He's a primeval, he's kind of like a Neanderthal kind of guy in the sense that he's really all about exerting his power. Yeah. He doesn't, he wants to be in the middle of an orgy. He wants to be like the prototypical alpha dog in this world.
He doesn't like peace. He doesn't like prosperity. He likes drama and chaos and conflict. Right?
He's all about the visceral, whether it's battle, whether it's blood, whether it's sex. I think he feels like he needs to be in it. And I think she'd be okay with that. I really don't see her saying anything against that. If there were a question as to her legitimacy as the queen, he'd be able to fulfill that desire, that he'd be able to satiate that need for violence and urgency through that battle.
Yeah. So, okay. What do you think his relationship is going to be with her three kids?
So look, it's now an open secret, right? Or not even a secret anymore. Now it's out there in the open. Everyone believes that they aren't the legitimate children.
Yeah.
And the question...
I mean, is Daemon going to embrace them, or is Daemon going to say, hey, look, I've got my own 2 daughters. I love my 2 daughters. I'm not really...
Yeah, but as you pointed it out, I think how you make them legitimate is by getting the sons married to his daughters.
Yeah.
So there's still Targaryen blood in there, right? And that, by the way, also satiates Corlys's desire for having one of his grandchildren be on the throne.
Well, that's where we get to Corlys, right? I mean, he and his wife seem to be kind of the most practical people in this entire show, right?
Or maybe at least open and pragmatic about their desires, right? She realizes she could never have been queen. That's why it went to Viserys. And she's accepted that because she's a woman. Corlys, I think, genuinely loved her and genuinely loves her. And so he wants for his children / now grandchildren what she could never have. And I think he's right in what he says at the end, right? When they have their little argument, he's like, nobody remembers blood. Everyone remembers the name.
Yeah.
Right? So even if it's not my blood on the throne, because I think he appreciates the fact that it's not Laenor's children that Rhaenyra is born.
Yeah.
So I think he's just like, listen, as long as a Valyrian is sitting on the throne, I couldn't give 2 tosses as to what happens to the rest.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I think he's absolutely right in that regard. Because ultimately, unless you keep marrying within your own family, your blood is going to get diluted anyway.
So does that mean if they're going to support their granddaughters, even though they don't like Daemon, but they're going to support their granddaughters. Does that mean Alicent and her 3 kids are just totally on their own without any support?
So at the moment, if you look at the proper line of succession, Alicent's 3 kids are nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Or I take that back. If you look at this right now, the way I look at it is that number 1 would be Jaehaerys after Rhaenyra. Okay, so we're talking next generation, right? So Jaehaerys, then you have Jaehaerys' younger brother.
Hold on, can I ask a question before we go there? Let's say Rhaenyra dies. Does it not go to Daemon? Or is this going to be like Game of Thrones where Joffrey took it and his grandfather
won't go to Daemon because
was
the kids have already been born. It's the
so
same
it's going to
thing
be like Game of Thrones where Joffrey was king and his grandpa was his hand.
His hand, right? And kind of like the king in waiting in that sense. Yeah. So that's exactly it. You're absolutely right. So because the kids are already born now, because the next line of succession is already born on all 3 sides of this family, Daemon is automatically out of the picture. So even if Rhaenyra dies, even if Alicent and Viserys die, it has to go with the kids. And so my opinion is Jaehaerys is the oldest of the 3 sets, the 2 sets of the legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate line. He would automatically become king, or at least be named the king. He may not, he may have a hand who takes care of things. Then I don't know what the ages are, okay? But my guess is then it's the oldest Valyrian daughter. Yeah. So Daemon's oldest. Then it's Rhaenyra's youngest. Then, not youngest, the second one. Then it'll be Daemon's second. Then it'll be Rhaenyra's third. That's my feeling right now, especially because they're married now. Okay? And then there is an argument to be made that because Daemon married into the family, his 2 kids should be taken out of the line of succession. Fine. In which case, they become 4th and 5th.
I feel like some point this is not going to sit well with Daemon.
I'm not so sure, actually.
I feel like
at this point,
that this... Yeah, I mean, if this... I'm just projecting. I agree there's no signs of this, but if this family really breaks apart, there has to be something else that fractures them, because right now it's too clean, right? Okay, Viserys and Alicent. Viserys is named Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's got a very strong husband. They've got their kids. Like, there's really no challenge unless it's assumption time.
No, I think there's still plenty of challenge. In fact, I like that it's become clean now.
Where's the challenge? Yeah.
So the challenge is Jaehaerys is a bastard. That's the challenge. Rhaenyra basically was not faithful, which I get. I mean, I don't know what the laws are. I don't know what the rules are, but that in itself, I think would cause an uproar, quote unquote, within society. And I think that would be where Alicent would say, well, I want my son to be king. I think this episode also went out of its way to show Aegon as this drunk lout, because I think they're kind of like, if there's going to be a casualty, he's probably going to be one of the first.
Yeah. Aemond absolutely seems the strongest, right?
Of the 2 of them, Aemond seems the strongest right now, especially with that line at the end, right? Where he says, I may have lost an eye, but I gained a dragon.
Yeah.
Politically, very savvy of him. Something even Otto says is the right thing, that it's amazing that his child said that, right? Yeah. But I mean, the way he went about it and did that, like, the way they've structured this episode, I am not in favor at all of Alicent's kids. And I think what they've done is they've maybe not so subtly shifted or tried to shift audiences to side with Rhaenyra by default, because we're not really siding with Rhaenyra, we're siding with her children.
Is that how you feel? I mean, I can't say that I'm sympathetic to Aegon at all. I kind of like Aemond, but like Jaehaerys, Lucerys, Joffrey, I mean, I don't feel anything towards them at all.
So that's the point, is I don't either. I don't feel anything positive about them, but I definitely feel negative about Aemon and Aegon.
Yeah.
And so who I actually felt the most bad and sympathetic for were Daemon's two daughters.
Yeah.
Right? One who really wanted a dragon. She had that stolen away from him because she would have obviously tried to get her mother's dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And two, because she also lost more importantly, obviously, is they lost their mother. And they lost the one character in all of these people that I genuinely liked the most. I liked Lena the most. She seemed the most practical. She seemed the most confident and self-assured. She was the one with, I think, the least emotional baggage and the least baggage on screen amongst all of the Targaryens and Velaryons. Mm-hmm. She was great. And she was also strong enough to say, look, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die on my terms. And then she self-immolates with with her dragon.
Yeah.
That's, for me, a phenomenally, underutilized for sure. And I'm not going to get into the, let's say, political aspect of that for the show, for the showrunners. But for me, by and far, the strongest character, male and female alike, so far, has been Lena, followed probably by Otto.
Yeah. And the weakest is her brother, Laenor,
who turned out to be super weak. So yeah, if we're going to talk about rankings, Laenor has been super weak. Viserys has been super weak. Although he stepped up in this episode, right? He kind of puts it to the table and says, hey, no one is going to question the validity of my grandchildren. If you say anything, you're out. And he kind of stands up to Alicent. And we finally see Alicent go a little apeshit.
I loved it when she went apeshit.
I liked it. I liked it because now the veils are dropped, right?
Yeah.
No one is hiding. There's no more question as to who's doing what. And when she instructs Cole to go after her kid, Jacaerys' eye, even he's like, whoa. I don't like Rhaenyra at all. But I'm not taking kid's eye for you. Now everyone in that room understands that she's got a little bit of madness in her.
Towards the end of the episode, it seemed like Viserys was his health was really failing him, yeah?
Yeah, but he seemed like that after the wedding. He seemed like that after the last episode. I don't know what's going on there.
So what's the rule if, let's just say he's kind of permanently bedridden? Kind of like the king that we've seen in Numenor and Rings of Power.
Yeah.
And basically Alicent is kind of running the ship.
Yeah, because she's on the council and because her dad is now the hand. So that's probably when they would try to make a move.
Yeah.
Politically, that would be the right time to make the move to change things around.
Yeah.
However, this is what I was saying. It's really smart for Rhaenyra. She's married Daemon. Daemon's not going to let any of that go.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to talk about Laenor?
Okay, so on a non-show related basis, I like that he gets his quote-unquote happy ending in the sense that he gets to kind of escape the life that he never really wanted. Right? He fakes his own death and he escapes.
Yeah. He did.
In this show, that's the ultra cowardice move, and it's gonna bite everyone in the butt. Somehow, somewhere, it's going to absolutely bite everyone in the ass. The Velaryons and the Targaryens.
I agree. I don't think this is the last we've heard of him, do you?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And maybe it is for this season.
Yeah.
But you just know, and they did this wonderfully in Game of Thrones, you just know he's going to come back in season 2 or even 3, where he's going to come back. Maybe he's going to have his own army, and he's going to help Rhaenyra because he's still got some kind of ties, because his blood nieces are still a part of this. You know what I mean? Something is going to happen and he's going to come back.
So I agree with the first part. I feel like this is not the last we've heard of him, but if he's going to come back in the future with an army and protect Rhaenyra or his two nieces, I'd say that he's even kind of like a double coward. That's when they needed him for a long time, and for him to come back.
No, I agree. Yeah. I absolutely agree. There's in no way, shape, or form does he come out looking good in any of the episodes, but especially in this one.
So I read something really interesting, which is he had a dragon this is probably the first instance where a rider has abandoned their dragon.
Yeah, sea smoke.
Right? And then the question was, because riders have such a deep connection with their dragon, is the dragon going to know that he's dead? Or is that dragon just going to like sniff him out and like follow him everywhere? Like, you can't get rid of a dog. The dog's going to like smell you and follow you. Like, is it this?
Or this is the other thing is what if one of the girls takes the dragon and then he comes back and we don't know that it's him or they don't recognize him. And then all of a sudden the dragon does. And that's how they legitimize him coming back.
Yeah.
Or understand that he's back.
Yeah.
There's a lot they can do with that, actually.
Yeah.
In terms of drama, again, in terms of, whether we like him or not, I mean, I have disliked him for a couple episodes now. And in this episode, again, personally speaking, I'm glad he finally gets... Like, this is probably the quote-unquote happiest ending you could get in a Game of Thrones, which is for him to escape and live the life he wants to live with the guy he loves. But we all know that that's not going to be the end of the story.
Yeah, so selfish.
Exactly. Yeah. Very selfish.
Okay, so now we got to turn to the wedding. Rhaenyra Daemon, right? Happened fast. Things happen fast.
And I gotta say, I mean, to the House of Dragons showrunners, I know you're listening to this, but...
I know you're out there.
You guys have to fix your lighting. It's unbelievable how hard it was to recognize what was going on. It was so dark. I even wrote in my notes, they get married in secret? And then you see the kids and you're like, oh, maybe not in secret? What's going on here? It's so dark and it happened so fast. It was such a gloss over.
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of a Marvel end credit sequence.
I thought this was such a seismic thing to happen that, Rhaenyra and Daemon plot and the conversation's basically like, hey, let's get married. Okay, but we can only get married if your husband dies. I know. Wink, wink. Yeah. Right? And then we have this fictitious kind of sword battle where allegedly we think that Laenor was just burned alive beyond recognition, no dental records.
Which,
right?
By the way, we all saw that coming, that it definitely wasn't Laenor, right? That's such a common trope.
And then, of course, then we cut to the beach and they're getting married. And then we see, well, Laenor actually is... not killed.
Shaved head and gets on a ship to Essos.
I just thought this plotting between Rhaenyra and Daemon went so fast. It was such a seismic thing that there wasn't even like, hey, let me think about it, or yes, I will, no, I won't, or it was just like, so should we kill my husband? Yep. And get married? Yep. Okay, let's do it.
So I don't know if they meant by when she says we need to take care of it, I don't know if they agreed to definitely kill him or if they just agreed that Daemon would take care of him as in get him out of the picture. Benefit of the doubt. I'll give the benefit of the doubt.
Sorry, just one more thing. We also don't know. Daemon could have given the dude money and been like, kill him. And the guy's like, hey, Laenor, I've got a plan. Let's do a double cross.
So it could be, So I give the benefit of the doubt that says, look, Daemon certainly was implying killing him, right? Or at least that's the way I saw it. But then I thought about it after the episode ended. I was like, oh, maybe Daemon was also just saying, hey, listen, you can start over fresh with this guy. You just have to fake it and make it look like you died. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to comment one way or another on that.
No. You've got to comment one way or another. Let's start from the beginning. Rhaenyra wants him dead or wants him bribed to leave? What's your feeling?
I think she just wants him out of the picture.
You don't get that. You don't get to say that, Pete.
I think she just wants him. I don't think she wants him gone. I think she dead. I think she wants him just to go.
Or basically, you're saying like she wants plausible deniability.
Correct.
Where she's like, anything's okay with me. I just don't want to know. And then in my head, I'm just going to imagine that he left. right?
Yeah, but you also saw that they actually had a tender moment earlier where she was like, look, we tried, I really did. And they did apparently have sex, but they just weren't able to have a baby. They tried. There was a little bit of a tender moment. He was like, look, and I have to be there for you. I'll definitely try. I got the feeling at the end of the episode that I don't know if she definitely wanted him dead. If she did, that's another negative point to Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
But I think she just wanted him out of the picture. And the more I think about it, the more, because maybe I'm naive, I'm going to go with I'm trying to justify in my mind that she's okay as a person, that she would just tell Daemon, get him out of the picture alive. But I totally see your point, because that's exactly what I thought when I first saw it as well. My first instinct was, she was like, listen, I don't want to know if he's dead or not, but it would be better for both of us if he were dead. Wink, wink.
Yeah. And then Daemon, what do you think? He gave the dude money to skip town or to kill him?
Again, when he says that, people don't care about names in Essos, they only care about gold.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that was Daemon saying, kill him, start your life over.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I was like, oh, maybe he's just like, take him with you, start your lives over. But make it look good.
Daemon's never been one to shy away from violence or finality, though. And he's also not one to leave loose ends, right? I would have expected that.
You're right.
I would have expected that Daemon's like, hey, you can go live there. You'll have a lot of money. You can do whatever you want. Just kill this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that is exactly the Daemon move to do. You're absolutely right.
And then I feel like the guy said to Laenor, hey, I got this money to kill you, but I think we can have our cake and eat it too. Let's go get a corpse. And we'll throw him in the fire, and we'll shave your head, and we'll both escape. Ha ha ha, no one will figure it out. I get the money one way or another.
And we can start over fresh.
Yeah. Daemon gave me money, I can't come back from this, right? So either I have to kill you, which I can't, or we both run away together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also very plausible. And on brand for Daemon, by the way. Right?
I think that's on brand for Daemon. He killed his wife.
He killed his wife. I was just about to say, yeah. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Yeah. And in this, it's strategically right for him to get somebody else to do the work because, again, plausible deniability.
Yeah.
You're right. This is 100% on brand. I would say if we're talking odds, it's probably 80% that you're right and 20% that he was kind of implying you can run away together.
Yeah.
Maybe 90-10. Fine. But I still give it a non-zero chance that he was also being a little bit more...
I agree with you.
A little bit more, reasonable in the sense that we don't need him dead. We just need him out.
Isn't that the essence of why we love this show, though?
Yeah.
Is that
we can have these debates?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if we compare this to Rings of Power, which we'll get to, Rings of Power either it's like a cream pie to the face where it tells you word for word exactly what you're supposed to believe and what happened, or it's so vague that it's just a guess and there's no 80-20 or 90-10 or this is what I kind of think. It's just so vague that they give you no information. You're like, I don't know. It doesn't even matter to argue about it because we'll never figure it out,
Yeah.
Like The Stranger, for example. I mean, The Stranger is one of those things that I know we're skipping here, but The Stranger is one of those things where we should be having an hour-long debate about who it is. There's this clue, this clue. There's no clues. We're like, well, it's not even talking about it. It's just guesswork right now. But here, this thing with Laenor, there's enough evidence and information that makes you think, well, it's probably this, but it could be this, or is it really going to be this? That's, I think, the beauty of House of the Dragon is that it gives you this fodder to debate and wonder what really happened. That's storytelling, right?
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
And then they get married.
Which is kind of, fine. They have their blood oath and they, cut their palms and intertwine and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But let's
next
ask a
episode
question.
is going to answer a lot of questions for me because I still don't know. Does everyone
You're right.
know about this wedding?
Yeah.
Does Viserys know about this wedding? Does Alicent
Yeah.
know about this wedding? And by the way, how does Corlys react about this wedding? Because wouldn't you automatically think, hey, it's a little suspicious that the night my son died, his wife already got married to her uncle?
Yeah.
Right? Like red flags all over the place, right?
I agree. Do you think... Okay. Let's say that we flash forward 5 years. Rhaenyra, Daemon have a boy together. Blonde boy, 5 years old. Where do you put him?
Where do I put him personally? I still put him bottom of the pile, but you know that society and the rest of the family is going to expect that he gets promoted all the way up. And that then causes a problem for Corlys because now Corlys doesn't have a Valyrian son on the throne. Right? And then that probably shifts Corlys over to Alicent's side.
I mean,
that's a great question.
If I'm Daemon, I've got a son. And now
you want my son to be the king, right?
I mean, especially it's not like it's my wife's kid. It's like it's my wife's bastard kid.
And
right?
now versus my actual kid versus a pure blood Targaryen.
Pure blood Targaryen.
Ooh, that's tough.
Please really let this be the outcome because this is where Rhaenyra and Daemon split. Right? And Rhaenyra's like, no, I want my bastard brown-haired Jacaerys to be...
Not just that, it's also, this is where the Velaryons split. This is where Alicent gains a lot of power.
And Daemon's like, are you nuts? We've got a kid. A full blonde boy.
Yeah.
Yeah? Don't put this... You know this kid's a bastard. Like, nothing good can come from this. Oh, that's where it's going to be.
Maybe. Yeah, actually, I didn't even think of that. Oh, my God. That's madness right there.
House of the Dragon. It's so good, right?
It's good because it keeps us wondering what's going to happen next. Yeah. And it's funny. Even though we're still 2 episodes left in this season, or whatever it is, 3 episodes left in the season, I'm still super excited by what's going to happen in season 2, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Should we talk about the spoiler, which is in Game of Thrones where Joffrey is showing the pit?
Oh, yeah. So we touched about it last week. Yeah, we touched upon it last week. So, I mean, it's a spoiler in the smallest of senses, but Joffrey, when he's showing off to
his wife,
Marguerite Tyrell, Natalie Dormer's character, you see the skulls of a dragon of a Targaryen. It is said that Aegon's dragon bit Rhaenyra's head off.
I thought they said Rhaenyra was killed by her
brother Aegon's dragon.
Yes.
Who knows? That could be something they could retcon very easily. I'm not saying that they will or that they won't. Yeah. But I mean, what a callback that will be either way.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. So that's House of Dragons for this week. New episode comes out tomorrow night, which means Monday afternoon. I'm sure there will be a flurry of messages between you and me to discuss what actually happens.
Yep.
Shall we turn over to Middle Earth?
Let's go to Middle Earth. Let's go Rings of Power. And I mean, we had a pretty dramatic episode this week. Are you more or less happy with it than you were last week?
You say that we had a dramatic episode, but really I have very little to say, actually. I'm looking at my notes, and I have very little to say about this week's episodes. First, let's ask, what did you think?
Well, the Harfoots are back. More annoying than ever, I must say. But I mean, I guess maybe it's my expectation that I'm just kind of along for the ride, and I'm enjoying whatever happens, you know? I see some things with the elves, I'm okay. I see some things with, Theo, I'm okay. Like, for me, I'm just kind of along for the ride. we mentioned this 30 minutes back when we were talking about House of the Dragon. There's just not a lot of depth to this. And I'm having problems like really becoming like emotionally invested in any character whatsoever, right?
There's nothing debate worthy at the moment.
There's nothing debate worthy. There's no question. I mean, maybe the only debate I really have, unfortunately, is the Harfoots.
Yeah,
who just seem to be the stupidest people, in Middle Earth. I mean, the strangers caused all sorts of problems. Nuri Brandyfoot is always kind of doing the wrong thing. I mean, somehow she's supposed to be a hero, yet I'm not entirely sure what she's done that's heroic. She's done nothing for her community, for herself, for her parents, for her friends. It's just been disaster after disaster for the stranger, right?
Nah. I have to say, again, I took very few notes because there were, I think, very few noteworthy things. And we say this every week, but man alive, stunning visuals.
Yeah.
How
totally
gorgeous when you see that opening scene where Galadriel wakes up covered in volcanic ash.
Yeah.
Freaking believable. Like it.
I agree.
We have been harping on about this, and I will not apologize for it. It genuinely is one of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen. And you can see where they've spent the money.
Yeah.
What I liked about
the costumes, the details, the lighting, it's 10 out of 10. It's wow.
Yeah.
It should win every award, I think, for set, for costumes.
At least for visual design,
Yeah.
I think what I did like about that, even though we kind of see the aftermath of the creation of Mount Doom, I like that we get a little bit of resolve from the Queen Regent. So now she's kind of like, no, we're in it now, right? She's lost her vision. We're in it now. Numenor is going to be a part of this battle, no matter what. I like that. It showed a little bit of growth. What that means is that we're probably going to see a lot more politics and drama in season 2 when she goes back to Numenor, right? Because the other guy was, remember, trying to undermine her.
Yeah. Can I ask why? I don't understand. So she brought her 5 ships or 3 ships, to the Southlands for some unclear mission. They all kind of got damaged. They didn't really achieve anything, right? She's blinded, and now they're leaving, but they're still going to fight?
Yeah, I think she's leaving to basically convince her people and to bring back like a serious army. So
that feels like something that we should be debating, but I just feel like, about it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's, you're absolutely right about that. Your metaphor is absolutely correct. We're just in it for the ride at this point.
Yeah.
There's nothing good or bad. Well, maybe nothing great.
Yeah. What about Prince Duren?
So that was probably the most interesting and only thing I liked about this. Liked about this, but like in the sense that I like that we see that he gets de-princed, right? Or whatever the appropriate term is.
Yep.
By his dad, which obviously we're going to see them work a way around it. B, the way this episode ended actually gave me a little bit of excitement because we see the Balrog. We see the leaf burn up when his dad, when King Duran throws the leaf inside that and holds it up. I like that. I'm surprised that it's so early in the game that they're bringing out Balrog. I mean, in the first season, I thought that was going to be something that we see in the latter bits of the seasons, because that basically brings the downfall of the Dwarven Empire.
I mean, I have to say, I was pretty captivated by the, let's say, like the conflict between Prince Duran and King Duran, right?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I sided entirely with the king, whether or not he's right or wrong.
Totally, I fully agree. Because in these kinds of things, you have to be. You can't say, oh, well, I like the elves, so the elves are right. We have to do everything for the elves. You also have to put your feet in the shoes of the dwarves.
Yeah.
Who are we to interfere with people's lifespans? One.
Yeah.
B, like they've not really done anything for us one way or another. We're allies in the loosest of senses.
Yeah.
Like we don't owe them anything, just like they don't
Yeah.
owe us anything. So
I agree.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, and in terms of, or rather, with what he's saying.
And I have to say, Duren, who I kind of like as a character, I mean, he has a lot of really admirable qualities in terms of loyalty and so forth. But like, I didn't like he's going to be the king one day. And as he said, and this is what really pissed me off. He said to his wife, he gave this really nice speech like, look, I've got to set an example for my kids, and the king is the king, and I have to listen to my king. And then his wife starts to go off, oh, your dad is crazy, he's losing his mind, he's set in his old ways, and he's like, you're right, I've got to undermine the king and do this my way, right? And I was just like really unhappy with which is the opposite of what you want in a leader. You shouldn't be all flip-floppy about something so serious like this.
Again, no wishy-washy. And that first argument that he said is absolutely correct, because if you're going to set an example, you can't set an example that when you are king, you'd be okay with people underneath you undermining.
Exactly. If his kids undermine him when he's king,
what leg does he have to stand on?
Exactly. That whole thing just really made me kind of unhappy, even though I really enjoyed the entire setting with, Elrond and going through the entire, the process to try to convince the king and to, see if they could mine. But the outcome of that, I was really just disappointed in.
I really thought that what they were going to do was that the elves were going... Because the main argument Duren has is that it's too dangerous to mine Mithril, and we're not going to lose dwarven lives trying to save elven lives. Yeah. Fine. I thought during that meeting, it was going to come out that the elves would say, hey, you're the masters of mining, but we understand this material. So we're going to help you mine it, and we're going to give you elven techniques to mine this specific material.
Yeah, there's a JV to be made.
The JV to be made, and and through this process, I thought they would awaken the Balrog, and then the dwarves would blame the elves. The dwarven kingdom would fall, and that would create the rift between the dwarves and the elves. Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen in seasons 2, 3 onwards. I guess not. Which is, I mean, okay, that's fine. That's a direction. Again, I don't know lore-wise what is correct and what isn't correct, but I do know that they've already taken a lot. Fast. Yeah, I know that they've already taken a lot of creative liberties. So what's one more?
I mean, for something that we've been promised 5 seasons of.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how... Maybe this Balrog thing was just them kind of teeing up what's going to happen in future seasons. And if that's the case, then that's a really bad tease, because the timing isn't right.
Yeah, it's a spoiler.
It's a spoiler, and the timing isn't right.
Yeah.
We shouldn't... What I suspect they're doing is they showed us the Balrog, and then we don't hear from him or see him for the next couple of seasons. Or at least, definitely more than episodes, probably not until next season, which again is then why even bother showing him now.
Do we know who the 3 sexy ladies are who are chasing the stranger?
No idea who they are. Absolutely not. They're definitely bad guys. They burned down the grove.
Yeah.
But that's all I know. I don't know anything else.
Stranger's a good guy, bad guy? What's your gut right now?
Bad guy. I think it's a great subversion of expectations that he healed the grove.
Yeah.
But my gut still tells me he's a bad guy.
And that means the 3 ladies are good.
Or they're also the bad guys. They're looking for their leader. They're going to help him remember who he is.
It just drives me nuts that these stupid Harfoots are like, well, let's go after them.
We're resilient people. We're better than everyone else in the
our
lands.
Hearts are bigger than our feet.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's just clumsy, right? It's clumsy. I'm not a big fan of the Harfoots in general. I think it's nice that you introduce them, because obviously hobbits play a very important part going forward. But I think you would be better off introducing the Harfoots or the hobbits in the future, and then not making them so integral to the story now.
What to say? I mean, I continue to watch the show and I like it, but again, we sound a little bit like a broken record. Visually, it's stunning. It's so enjoyable to watch. In terms of plot and characters, it's empty calories to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. I think you're absolutely right. Is that you kind of watch it to watch it, or at least at this moment, I'm watching it to watch it. I'm not watching it because that's something I look forward to every Friday. Like every Monday, I look forward to watching House of the Dragon. Yeah. Every Friday, it's something that I have to tick off my to-do list.
Yeah. I think the litmus test that you and I set out was if we somehow went to this random dinner party and we got seated at this table with 4 other people and like we had no conversation, no one really knew each other, we didn't have anything in common, and someone started talking about House of the Dragon, in 15 minutes, we'd be the loudest table at the party and everyone would be like, who are those 5 people? Are they lifelong friends?
Yeah.
We'd be engrossed in conversation. If you took the same group of people and you started talking about Rings of Power, it would be so quiet. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone, I saw it. That's beautiful. Oh, beautiful. You like the Harfoots? Not really. Who do you think is a stranger? Don't know. Yeah. But if you started talking about House of the Dragon, you'd hear arguments and talking over each other and laughter and shouting, and people would be like, what are they talking about at that table?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I'm with
you. That's what entertainment is about. That's what storytelling is about to me. So bravo to HBO, Amazon, bravo to your creative team. But in terms of the storyline, dialogue, character development,
your visual department will get all the awards, and they should, rightfully so.
They should, rightfully
at this moment,
yeah.
I must say, if I have to choose the visuals of Rings of Power over the visuals of House of Dragon, I definitely choose Rings of Power because I'm having a lot of problems with with House of the Dragons, how they're depicting things. It's too dark. There's the cinematography side, again, and I am not a director. I am 100% not a director or anything with a camera. I can't do it. But I'm telling you, whatever creative decisions you're making, they're wrong. Flat out. I'm not one to criticize someone for something I don't know, but I am telling you, if I can't see what's going on screen crystal clear, that's not a creative decision. That's just bad.
I agree with you. I'm not critical just because I like the story so much, but I agree. I'm not getting really anything out of the visuals of House of the Dragon. I mean, I'm not getting anything out of it. The story is what's captivating me, but yes, I agree. It's overall just kind of seems like a whole lot of fog or darkness and candlelit stuff.
Exactly.
All right. So we got 2 more episodes next week. We're getting to probably the closing stretch of each of these, huh?
I think next week's is the last episode of Rings of Power. For this season.
Sad to see it go.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it ends.
Okie doke. Pete, listeners, drop us a line, drop us a comment.
Like this video, subscribe, drop us some comments, send us an email, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com. Tweet at us at FNS Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Are we totally off our rockers? Can you see what's going on in screen clearer than I can? Do I need glasses? Maybe that's what it is.
Pete, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for your listening. We'll catch y'all next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.